Hi, Dan Miller, Historical Solutions, LLC. We are back for video 3, the third video of my what will be 4-part series. Last part will be up in a couple of days. It's around my book, A Young Man of Montana, From Hard Times or Hard Youth to Hawaii Mule Skinner. We're talking about the lessons for young men today and how they can maybe grapple with some of the things successfully that Irvin grappled with in 1920s and 30s Montana and beyond. He joins the Army in 1933, serves until 1935, serves in Hawaii. We'll talk about that in our final installment next time. But here's the deal. Home. Home is poor. Home is economically deprived. Home is pretty scattered in its support of a young man. In fact, a young man is sent kind of hither and yon to other homes in the extended family. There's physical abuse, there's psychological abuse, there's emotional abuse. He goes as far east as Minnesota, as far west as the state of Washington, then back again to Montana in the middle. So there's poverty at home. There's poverty in the environment and in the area around the home. There's really no decent prospect. And there's a sense in the air of a certain desperation, a certain hopelessness that begins to build. So that's what our young man faces. So what would it take? What's it take for a young man to not go the wrong way, to not slide into the wrong stuff, make the wrong choices, and head into a lifetime of despair and probably crime and other kinds of abuse and so on. I turn on my television locally for local news, city news. My goodness. And news around the area outside of the city, and I hear of young men who've gone the wrong way, time and time again. It's almost all you ever hear about, to some extent. So, what happens? What happens to maybe make it something different? That's what Irvin's facing. And so, everything I just described to you then, Irvin faces as a boy and as a teenager. But there's three things, aren't there? And this will go back a little bit, but there's three things. 1 plus 1 plus 1. One is 1 plus, one positive. He loves the place. He has a sense of the place that he's from and that he lives in. In this case, it's Montana. Another positive, another 1 plus, is that he has an unusual ability to recognize and appreciate beauty around him, no matter how bad the circumstances are. And then a third plus, another 1 plus, 1, 2, 3, is that he has found a thing in the place where he lives, a thing for which he has a very strong affinity and, frankly, love. And from that affinity and love develops a skill. I'm referring to my text here. I'm referring to horses. He loves horses and becomes a very skilled young horseman from age 7, 8, 9 on up to his late teens. So we have a place, we have a trait, and we have an affinity and a skill from the affinity. Montana, love of beauty, and a gift with horses. So those are the three things that he has with him, while all of these other things are true that could have taken him down the wrong way. I would suggest to you that for him, those three positive things add up to something. And they add up to what I'll call a sense of improvement, a sense of knowing that he can improve himself, knowing that he can and that he wants to improve himself. Those three things. Now, maybe it's not as simple as 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3, but it seems to me that those three things help him get to that next point, which is I want to improve. I know I can improve. So he tries to take that love of horses and tries to make a living out of it as a farmhand and ranch hand. Tries to take that love of horses and further, and you probably know what I'm going to say next. He goes to a rodeo and tries that out. And so he joins a club. He joins a club called the Demolays. And it's not a gang, it's a club. And the club is committed to a kind of a self-improvement mantra. And that takes you down to 1933. And the thing about the early 1930s, and again, as I said, 1933, he'll be 19 years old. What was bad becomes worse. That's the heart, the toilet of the Great Depression. Some of the worst periods of the Great Depression are in the actual early 1930s. And so he's clinging to these three things of his, these three positives, and everything else is getting worse around him. And in fact, there's talk of revolution in some parts of the country, including his. There's talk of social upheaval in parts of the country, again, including his. He could lash out, look for blame, look for ways to target his anger and exact a kind of vengeance against those people who he thinks are responsible for how bad things have gotten. He could do all of that stuff, but he holds on to those three things. And he makes a decision that, well, the rodeo didn't work out. Farmhands, ranch hands, they're all, a lot of them are closed, a lot of them are foreclosed. That hasn't worked out. There's nothing else up here that's going to really work out. So he makes a decision to trek across his part of the country from Montana to San Francisco, California, to try to join the Marines. He and a friend tried to join the Marines in 1933. He's told no, you can't join, because he doesn't meet the physical requirements and doesn't have a recommendation. You need a letter, a recommendation. So he can't join. So he decides, well, I'm going to go down the street and try to join the Army instead. And he gets into the Army and is shipped off to Washington State, to a military outpost there. And it's there that he makes another decision. And his decision is I've got this skill. He still has this spirit of self-improvement, by the way. And it's recognized by a sergeant, a hard-bitten, kind of tough, super tough guy sergeant, who's known throughout the military in that part of the country as somebody who really knows how to make soldiers. And this particular sergeant sees Irvin and catches his eye, and he kind of, that guy's all right. And so he gets a chance. You get two choices, he's told. Two choices. You can go to Kansas, and you can make saddles and bridles for horses. Or you can go to Hawaii and work with horses there. And Irvin takes all of about a minute and a half and decides that God bless Kansas, but it's not Hawaii. And he hears some Hawaiian music and thinks, God, that's just the coolest thing. I'm going to take my skill, my horsemanship, and I'm going to go to Hawaii and see what the future holds. So, 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. Love of place, a personal trait that is very important and very positive. In this case, the love of beauty, love of horses, and an ability to work with horses. And now we've made a decision to take that love of horses, and we're going to go to a beautiful place, another beautiful place, and maybe he'll find us another strong sense of identity there. We're headed to Hawaii for our final installment next time. Thank you so much. I'm Dan Miller, Historical Solutions, LLC. Have a great week, and I'll see you, I think this is Monday the 19th. I'll probably see you on Thursday. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.